Hello everyone, like every Sunday, welcome to this self-knowledge course. Today we are having lecture number 10. So if you haven't seen the previous lectures, you can go here in the page to the video section, and there you can find the first lecture where we were talking about what is the objective of getting to know ourselves. The second lecture, in which we talk about death and what happens to our soul when our physical body dies. In the third lecture, we talk about astral projection and how to achieve a conscious astral projection. Also, we were talking in the fourth lecture about the 7 energetic centers of our physical body. In the fifth and sixth lectures, we talk about the dimensions and where they are in us. In the seventh lecture, we were talking about conjurations, and in the lecture number 8, we were talking about the process that our spark goes through in the wheel of samsara to the process of evolution and the process of involution through the 4 kingdoms of nature. And also we were talking about that law of revolution that will allow us to get out of this wheel of birth and death. And in last Sunday we were talking about the infra dimensions. That was a quite interesting lecture, and today we are going to be talking about the 7 bodies. And this lecture we are having today is very important because it will help us understand that, just as we saw in lectures number 5 and 6, where we saw that this universe is multidimensional, that there is not only this third dimension in which we live, but there is also a first, second, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh dimension. And we saw that we are also multidimensional beings, and we have not only this physical body, which belongs to this third dimension, but 7 bodies that allow us to have presence in the different dimensions of nature. But due to our current condition, how asleep our consciousness is, we are not aware of this, and these bodies are in an egoic condition, and some of them, we just have a body principle that we must develop, so that we begin to have permanent awareness of all the dimensions of nature, and we begin to have a constant presence in them. In lectures 5 and 6, we also saw the different techniques that we teach in this course to verify the existence of these dimensions and begin to do research on them. But we talk about the need to start developing those vehicles or bodies that will allow us to move into the different dimensions to will and permanently, raising our level of consciousness and doing this work of regeneration, of creation and development of these bodies. We will do this work through supersex, since just as this physical body that we already have was created through sex, it is through sex that all bodies are created. So in this lecture we'll be explained in detail the practice of supersex to learn how to start using our sexual creative energy wisely to awaken our consciousness in each of these dimensions. So don't miss this video, and let's start with today's lecture. Well, as we see here, just give me a minute. Okay, and here we see what those 7 bodies are. We have already created the physical and the vital bodies. It could be said that they are already developed in an adult, but they are actually in a degenerated state subjected to many diseases and ailments, since we constantly live by misusing our energy. Therefore, we need to do work to regenerate these two bodies, the physical and the vital one, and move them from that lunar state to a solar state. The astral, the mental, and the causal bodies are in most human beings only as an embryo that allow us some basic functions such as feeling, thinking, and having some will. In addition to doing, yes, certain research in the dimensions they belong to. But we need to create this body, to develop them fully, to access all their functions and capabilities. And the Buddhic and the Atmic body are completely created, and they are actually in a solar state. Since when we fall through the different dimensions of nature in these physical manifestations, these bodies didn't fall. They maintain their solar nature, and they constitute that conscious part in us of which we are currently disconnected, but from which we receive guidance and we receive internal teaching, and to which we will fully unite once we have created these 5 bodies, the first 5 ones, that constitute our human soul, becoming true men. And by joining these higher bodies, these Buddhic and Atmic bodies, we'll become supermen, enlightened masters, conscious beings awake in all dimensions of natures. When studying these bodies, we are going to see for example, that each body vibrates with one of the 7 musical notes, and the denser the body is, the lower its vibration. Therefore, it will vibrate with a lower musical note. We'll also see that each body is of a different nature, from a denser nature such as cellular, like this physical body, to bodies of light, as for example, the atomic body. And we are going to see that each body is governed by a number of laws that are the limitations to which that body is subjected to. For example, the physical body is subjected to the law of gravity, which is one of the 48 laws to which it is subjected to. So therefore, with this body, we cannot jump and fly, but we are attracted to Earth thanks to this law of gravity. But with higher bodies, such as the astral, the mental bodies, we can actually jump and we can float, we can fly away, since they are subjected to fewer laws, and among these is not that of gravity. We will also see the element of nature to which each body is related, and the center of our physical body where they have their seat inside us. Also, we'll see the hydrogen they work with, or the level of purity of energy that each one requires to be created, and we will also see some of their functions. So let's start by studying our physical body. We already have our physical body in this 3rd dimension. This body vibrates with the musical note Do, which is the lowest of the 7 notes. Since the vibration of a physical body is the lowest and the most dense of the 7 bodies, it has a cellular nature. It means that it's made out of cells, we know that. And this body is governed by 48 laws and forms what we call our outer world, or Earth. It is important to know that the bodies are inside us. The physical body is the external one, and the other bodies, are more and more inside us. This physical body has a particular importance, and it is an energy condenser. So it has the ability to create, with the use of our sexual energy, not only another physical body, as in the case of physical children, But it is with this physical body with which we can make the creation of our internal bodies, learning to make wise use of our energy and the energy condenser capacity that this body has. Actually, that is the reason why we must do our work to awaken our consciousness here in this third dimension, because for this we need energy, and we need to condense energy to create us internally, and our physical body is that energy condenser that we must use to do this work. This body is related to our sexual center. So we saw in lecture number 4 the 7 centers of the human machine, and our sexual center is here in this red point we can see in the body, and this body is related to that center, and this body manages the sexual creative energy. This body works with hydrogen 48 because it is related to the 48 laws, and it is found in the third dimension. This body is related to the earth element, and therefore with the elementals of the earth that are called gnomes and pygmies. And a person who regenerates his physical body receives the power to rule the gnomes and pygmies. This body is actually in a lunar condition due to fornication, and we must regenerate it because we already have it. So let's see our second body. This is the vital body. Here. And this body is called vital or etheric. It vibrates with the musical note re. It belongs to the fourth dimension, and this body is the energy that gives vitality to the physical body. It is what gives energy to the physical body for its different functions. This body is what is commonly known as the aura. This body is governed by the same 48 laws, since it is the upper part of our physical body. And the duration of the physical body depends on the state of this vital body. Since if we constantly use up our energy resources in sexual degenerations, and constantly fornicating our sexual, our emotional, mental, and our motor energy, we weaken faster, and the life of the physical body is shortened. So this body is what gives energy to our physical body. And if we misuse our energy, of course, our life is going to be shortened. This body is etheric in nature, and it is made up of 4 ethers that are the chemical, the light, the reflector, and the life ethers. These ethers regulate our different organic functions. For example, the chemical ether regulates the assimilation of substances in the body, the functions of our internal organs and glands. And the light ether regulates the functioning of our external and internal sensory perceptions. That is the correct functioning of all our senses. The reflector ether regulates our processes of imagination, our processes of concentration and will, and the life ether regulates the reproductive capacity of the physical body. Any irregularity in these ethers due to the wear and tear of this body, or due to karma, since this body is related to the instinctive center, that is the one that manages our karma, will result in any of the many diseases that we usually have, since this vital body is what oversees the health of the physical body. It manages our waters. Internally, you can see that our waters represent our energy. So if we want to know the state of our energy, we can see, or we must see, the state of the water in the astral. So we unfold and we see how our water is. Or if we have a dream, taking a bath in water, and we see the state of the water, if it is polluted or if it is clean, there you see the state of your own energy. So at first, you will see that your energy or your waters internally are polluted or smelly, which represents the state in which your energy is due to the psychological defects and due to fornication. But as you work in the purification of your energy through psychological death and sexual transmutation, you will be able to verify the internal transformation of these waters. Actually, whoever regenerates this body manages to have dominion over the water element and therefore over the undines and mirids that are the elementals of the water. Those that we hear historically that had power over water, as for example, we heard of Moses who divided the sea, or Jesus who walked on water. They did so because they had regenerated their vital body, therefore they had a dominion over the water element. The physical seat of this vital body is the instinctive center in the sacrum, and it produces a vital energy, which is the tetra sustainer of energy. It means that it gives energy to our different centers and deposits the energy in the sexual center to create. This body works with hydrogen 48, and this body is also in a lunar condition due to fornication. Since when we fornicate, which is to reach orgasm or ejaculation, we waste our available energy resource. Hence, the importance of stopping spilling our sexual energy and starting to purify it in order to regenerate this body, because we don't have to create it since we already possess a vital body. So now let's see the next body, which is the astral body. We also have an astral body, but just a principle. As I was saying, we just have an embryo of these bodies. This one vibrates with the musical note Mi. It has a molecular nature, and for that reason, in astral, we can go through walls, or we can stretch any part of the body, and it stretches and stretches and then return to its original state. It is because it is made out of molecules, not of cells as the physical body. This body is subjected to 24 laws, half the laws of the physical body, and uses hydrogen for 24. It is in the fifth dimension, or the emotional world, and works with emotional energy. In us, this principle of astral body allows us to have the ability to feel, and to create and develop it fully. We need to gain control over our emotions, since in our emotions there is that internal fire or that encouragement that we need for the inner work, but that is commonly managed and misused to fit our psychological defects, since we constantly walk in an emotional imbalance between worry, anxiety, sadness, depression, or sentimentality, and also emotions of overwhelmed joy. So we must learn to have a right feeling to be able to rescue that spirit and that fire and use it in pursuit of consciousness, and get to create this astral body that will allow us to have a constant and conscious presence in the astral world. This means that once we have our astral body fully developed, we will be able to unfold to the astral world at will every time we go to sleep. This body manages our inner fire and is related to the fire salamander. So whoever regenerates this body has control over the fire element. This body has as its seat within us the emotional center, which is at the level of the solar plexus, and it is currently in a lunar condition, and a few human beings possess it, and therefore we must create it, and we are going to see how. Let's now see our next body, which is the mental body. We also have a mental body principle, on the principle of this body, which allow us to have the ability to think. This body vibrates with the musical note fa. It is atomic in nature, so it is made from atoms, and it is more subtle and lighter than the astral body. It is subjected to only 12 laws, half the laws of the astral body, and that is why when making a mental projection that we will learn later in this course, the freedom and the ease of movement is actually greater. This body works with hydrogen 12, which means that the degree of purity of the energy required to create this body is higher. It is in the upper fifth dimension, in the mental world, and this body works with mental energy. To create this body, we need to develop mastery over our mind and over the constant waste of mental energy due to our unstoppable train of thoughts. And we must learn to live in that constant inner silence that is right thinking, so that the wisdom of our consciousness can manifest in us. Creating this body will allow us to have a presence in the mental world and to have control over the air element and over the sylphs and sylphids of the air that are the elementals of the air. This body has its seat within us in the intellectual center, that is at the level of the heart, and it is currently in a lower condition and only a few people have it, and therefore we must create it. And now let's see our fifth body, which is our causal body or body of will. We also have a principle of this body. This body is in the sixth dimension. It vibrates with the musical note sol. We have been seeing how the vibration of these bodies varies from a low note such as do to sol, which is a note with a higher vibration. This body is subjected to only 6 laws. So the lightness and the freedom that is experienced with this body in the sixth dimension is indescribable for us. Since the level of restrictions, materiality, and pain are minimal at that level. There, we can already perceive what true happiness is, since in this dimension is what we know as the heavens, which are places of authentic happiness. It is in the words of causes. This body is electronic in nature. It means that it is composed only of electrons that are the negative charge of the atom. Therefore, to create this body, we must develop the will, which is the ability to say no. That is to deny ourselves to our desires, to start doing the will of the Father. That's the will of our consciousness. That's to have the will to deny ourselves to our negative thoughts, to our negative emotions, to our negative sexual impulses. Also the will to deny ourselves to all our lower nature in order to create this causal body or body of the will, and thereby develop what is a human soul and then become true men. Actually, we are not men, we are just intellectual animals. But when creating these first 5 bodies, we will actually become true men. This body manages the ether, which is the ability to dominate nature through the verb. So by developing this solar wheel, you already acquire a domain over your inner nature by having the ability to deny all manifestation of the ego and dominate your air, which is your mind, your fire, which is your emotions, your waters, which is your energy, and your earth, which is your sexual center. So when you achieve domination over your inner nature, you also acquire a domination over all external nature. Through the ether, that is the domain to put out a fire, for example, or you can stop an earthquake since you dominate the earth, or you can make it rain since nature already obeys you. So this body is actually, or when you develop this body, actually you have a total domination of all nature. This body has as its seat the motor center, that is at the height of the larynx. And this body works with motor energy. It uses hydrogen 6. Therefore, the level of purity of the energy that is required to create this body is actually quite high. To achieve it, we must develop that ability to deny all our lower nature, all our psychological defects. We currently have only a principle of this body of the will, which is the one that allows us to deny our psychological defects and eliminate them. But we need to create that body of the solar will through supersex. Let's now take a look at the Buddhic body. This body is also known as the body of consciousness. It is actually in a solar condition. It is fully developed. It vibrates with the musical note La. It is subjected to only 6 laws, the same number of laws as the causal body, and is also in the 6th dimension. And this body is magnetic in nature. It is made up of protons that are the positive charge of the atom. And this body is our divine soul. So having already created our causal body that represents our human soul, we have the right to unite with our divine soul. That we don't have to create this body because this body is raised, and is in a solar condition. Both bodies are subjected to the same number of laws, and being this body of magnetic nature and the causal one of electronic nature, they are going to attract each other. In the union between the human soul and the divine soul will be known as the perfect matrimony. This body manages the akasha, that is the faculty that allows the master, since those instances we already become masters, not only to dominate nature through the verb, but also to create through the verb. So actually, the master at that point can create something using only a mantra, for example. This body has its material seat in the higher emotional center, that is in the pituitary gland, and it is found raised in all human beings, and it's just waiting for us to do the job of creation of the first 5 bodies to merge with it. Let's now see our 7th body, the last one, and it is the atmic body. It is our intimate. This body is in a solar condition, which means that this body didn't fall either. This body is subjected to only 3 laws. It vibrates to the musical note T. It has a light or photonic nature. So this is a body of light, and it is made up of photons, which is what we found in the nucleus of the atom. So we see that these bodies are found each other more and more towards the interior. If we analyze the composition of the cells, which represents our physical body, we will see that they have an energy that gives them life. That is the vital body. And that they are composed of molecules, which are our emotions or astral body. And that molecules are composed of many atoms, which represent our mental body. And it means that our emotions are composed of many thoughts. But if we continue to delve further, we will see that the atoms have several parts. One is the electron, which is the negative charge, which represents our causal body, which is our ability to deny ourselves. And the other is the proton, that represents our Buddhic body, that is our ability to judge ourselves, to eliminate our defects. And finally, we find the photon, that represents this atomic body, that is the light or the wisdom that we recover from all this work. So actually it is the wisdom within us. This body is found in the seventh dimension or atomic world, and it is the lowest our being can reach, which comes from the world of antimatter. This body has its seat in the superior intellectual center in the pineal gland, and it is found raised in all human beings. So now that we take a look at these 7 bodies, let's see how we can create them. That is the most important part of this lecture. As I was explaining, we are going to create this body by condensing our sexual creative energy, practicing suprasex, that is practicing sexual transmutation. And to do this work, it is necessary to have a stable partner of the opposite sex. And why is this so? Because just as only through the sexual union between a man and a woman can the creation of the physical body of a child occur, likewise to create the existential bodies of the being that are the children of light, the union of feminine sexual energy with the masculine sexual energy, so that this creative force is activated in us in a positive way, is needed. So actually this is the reason why we come to this world as men and women, so we can collaborate each other to achieve this goal of self-realization. He or she must be interested in helping with collaborating in attaining the same goal, which is not to get overexcited during the practice, to never reach orgasm or ejaculation, as chastity, as we see here, is a foundation of this work. We need to value the creative sexual energy and its importance in this work. It is also important not to change partners. This work must be done in fidelity. In case it is necessary to change partners, considering that the valid reasons for changing partners are adultery, that means that the partner is unfaithful to us, or fornication, that after a prudent time teaching the partner the importance of the suprasexuality, doesn't want to do the work, doesn't want to stop fornicating, or in case the partner dies. So in case of any of this happens, it is recommended to wait at least 1 year, that is a magnetic pause, to start working with a different partner. And also for this practice we need love. We need to value our partner in order to cultivate true love. It is important, very important, that both are aware of the work they will engage in and must work to improve this practice every day. The secret of the practice is to connect the female, the male and the female without ever spilling the sexual creative energy. So to do this practice, once you know the requirements, the first thing we are going to do is that we are going to clean the space of our room where we are going to do the practice. And we are going to clean it using the belly link conjuration that we learned in lecture number 7. If you haven't seen it, you can find this lecture here in the page. And this is a song that will help to energetically clean the environment of all negative energies and negative entities. Once you clean the space with the belly link conjuration, you are going to close it using the magic circle, which is also explained in lecture number 7. And once you have the space cleaned and closed, you are going to ask for assistance to your inner being, to your interior father and divine mother, to assist you during the practice. Once you already did that, you are going to start the practice by turning on the fire with caresses and kisses to achieve a perfect lubrication in women and a good erection in men. Give me a second. Let me check something. Yeah. Here we go. Then, okay, and it is important to remember that these kisses and caresses must be conscious so that they don't lead us to overexcitement and loss of energy, which is called having a sexual flow. For this, it is important to work on ourselves during the day against these psychological defects we have of masturbation, pornography, oral sex, anal sex, etc. In addition to working with the psychological death to eliminate those sensations recorded in the instinctive center that rushes to orgasm and ejaculation. So we regain more control in the practice every time. So after a good erection has been achieved in men and a perfect lubrication in the woman, we will proceed to connection or to penetration. And once connected, we are going to proceed to raise our sexual energy through our spine to the points between the eyes through a simple respiratory process that I'm going to explain. In the case of the woman, what she's going to do is she will inhale the air deeply and slowly until she fills her lungs, and she's going to bring this air to her sexual gonads, which are her ovaries. That's the first step, to inhale the air. Once you bring the air to your sexual gonads, you are going to retain the air. And while retaining, you are going to imagine all that sexual energy that, like a golden thread, is going throughout this spine, it's going to the coccyx, and there throughout the spine, all the way until it reaches the point between the eyes. That is the second step, retaining. And while retaining, you're going to imagine how your energy as the golden thread goes up until it reaches the point between the eyes. And once there, you're going to exhale the air, imagining how this energy just fills your whole body, and you're going to exhale, mentalizing the vowel or the sound E, the vowel I, but with the sound E elongated, like E. This E means ignis, that is a fire, and that's where you're going to be. You are being born by fire. So in the man is the same exact procedure. You will inhale the air, filling his lungs, then is bringing his air to his sexual gonads. Then he's going to retain the air, imagining how this sexual energy goes like a golden thread to his coccyx, and from there all the way through his spine slowly until it reaches the point between the eyes. Once the energy is there, by retaining the air, he's going to exhale the air, mentalizing the vowel E. Imagining how this energy was filled the whole body. And that is the first step, let's say. The second time, you are going to do the same exact procedure. You are going to inhale, you are going to retain, you are going to imagine while retaining that all the energy goes to the coccyx, and then it's going to ascend through the spine until it reaches the point between the eyes. The second time, you are going to exhale the air by mentalizing the vowel O, but with the sound O, elongating, O. Sorry, it is the vowel A. I'm sorry. The second time is the vowel A. It's like that's the way. And the third time that you do the same procedure, you are going to exhale by mentalizing the vowel O. So the first time is with the vowel E, the second time with A, and the third time with the sound O. This, or the pronunciation of these sounds, will generate a specific vibration on that energy that will activate the superior capacity of this energy. So the E, as I said, is ignis or fire, the A is aqua or water, and this in the third one the O is for organ or spirit. And actually that is the second birth. So you are born in through fire, through water, and through spirits. That's the meaning of these three vowels. And if at any time during the practice the sexual potency drops, that means that the man loses his erection or the woman loses her lubrication, the couple is going to make gentle movements, kisses and caresses, to regain potency. And when they regain potency, they start uploading the energy once again. And when they lose the potency again, the gentle movements, kisses, caresses, and once you achieve or regain potency again, then you continue with the practice. This practice can be extended for as long as the couple wants it, for as long as they have sexual potency. And as soon as the potency is completely finished, because all the energy has already been transmuted, the practice will just ends. And we must remember that the success of this practice is to withdraw from it without spilling the sexual energy, that is, without reaching orgasm or ejaculation. It is important to take into account during the practice to always be concentrated. Concentration is important because we must stay focused during the practice and not allow our mind to distract us with any thought, but to keep our awareness centered in the practice. That is very important. It is also important to imagination, for the wise imagine is to see and create. So we must endeavor to imagine the energy rising through the spine. And also we must have will, which is the metal to overcome that desire. And there are certain recommendations for this practice. One is to practice only once per day, so once at night. The glance works alternately, so one per night. And it is necessary to allow a minimum of 20 hours to start working with the other one. Another recommendation is to be concentrated on your own genitals, as each one works with their own energy. And after practice, it is good to wait at least 2 hours before bathing, because powerful electromagnetic energy is being moved during the practice, and actually it can be harmful if you just take a bath after right after doing the practice. It is recommended to have the room in very good condition of hygiene and cleanliness. It is recommended not to use contraceptives since they isolate and affect the creative power of sexual energy. And we must bear in mind that this practice is a natural control of fertility, because the success of the practice is not to reach orgasm and ejaculation. The reproductive system and organs and the spine also must be in good condition. And during the practice, we must make gentle movements so as not to spill the energy, that is, so that a sexual fall doesn't occur. It should not be practiced during the menstrual period, so 7 days must be respected for that process. It shouldn't be practiced while pregnant or breastfeeding. And the last recommendation is to be patient and to be constant, to be controlling and eliminating that psychological defect of fornication that leads us to spill our sexual energy. For that, we must work on our lust with the psychological depth, and we must have a lot of self-observation. And this has been the practice. Actually, the difference between the superior sexual practice that I explained today and the sexual practice that is commonly known is that the practice of infrasexuality It is only sought to excite the organs to reach the point of expelling the sexual energy through fornication. And with the expulsion of this energy, we create more and more psychological defects in our interior. Therefore, we become more and more perverse, more materialistic, and increasingly we move away from our consciousness. But while with the practice of supersex, it's done with the purpose of using our energy wisely to make it ascend, to awaken our consciousness, to regenerate our physical body and our vital body, and to create our astral, mental, and causal bodies. So this is very, very important, and this will allow us to become beings of awakened consciousness in the different dimensions of nature. And as it says, it is said here, an act of love is nourished by love. And with this practice, the true meaning of making love will be discovered for the couple. And this has been today's lecture. I hope it was helpful for you. And I invite you to next lecture, that will be next Sunday, in which we are going to be talking about how to fabricate soul and spirit. Here we are going to know what the soul and the spirit are, since they are concepts that are commonly confused with each other, and we are going to see how they are formed, in what state they currently are, and what are the steps to develop. So this has been all for today. If you have at any time any question about this topic of the 7 bodies or about the self-knowledge course, please write it here in the comments, and I will be solving all your questions, or you can write to the messenger here in the page. Thank you very much for being with us today, and see you next Sunday. Bye bye.